What is up, everybody? Mike Tyson, he came back and he probably should go right back into retirement right now. Give Mike a lot of credit. Iron Mike Tyson, the former undisputed heavyweight champion. Tonight at 58 years old, he got back into a boxing ring. Just remarkable that he did that. He looked in remarkable shape and he went 8 full rounds. But if you were expecting this great fight, if you were expecting to see Mike Tyson of 1986 or 1996, you were just kidding yourself. He was never going to be that, and he certainly wasn't. He looked every one of those 58 years, had no quickness. His legs were gone from the early moments. And Jake Paul won a unanimous decision. The judges had it 79-73 twice and 80-72. I gave the first round to Mike Tyson, had it 79-73 for Jake Paul. Really no surprises in the fight. I mean, Jake Paul is the content creator, the YouTube star, the former Disney kid who has turned into a professional boxer. And while he's done a lot of good things and he's built a strong promotional company, and they put on some good fights tonight, Amanda Serrano and Katie Taylor, excellent fight. Mario Barrios and Abel Ramos, another excellent fight. So there were some good fights on the card. But look, Jake Paul is not a real elite professional boxer. He's at best a mid-level guy. And the fact that he couldn't get Mike Tyson out of there, a 58-year-old Mike Tyson who really was done after 3 rounds, his legs were completely shot. That just tells you the kind of fighter that Jake Paul is. He's fought MMA fighters and old guys. You know, he fought 47-year-old Anderson Silva at one point, 58-year-old Mike Tyson tonight. He's fought NBA players. He's fought rappers. You know, mostly he's fighting MMA fighters. The boxers he fights are never were's and aren't very good. Look, forget about Jake Paul. You know, he's not irrelevant here. He is not a very good fighter, and there's going to be nobody of any consequence that he'll ever get in the ring with, because no state athletic commission would ever allow it. He was asked tonight by Ariel Helwani after the fight if he would fight or call out Canelo Alvarez. And I had to laugh at that, because while Jake Paul has said, hey, I'm going to call out Canelo Alvarez, just the idea of that fight is ridiculous. Canelo Alvarez is one of the best fighters in the world. He's a top 10 pound for pound guy. Maybe some people think he's a top 5 pound for pound guy. And Jake Paul is just a guy. Also, Jake Paul weighed 227 for this fight tonight, and Canelo fights at the 168 weight class. So, of course, that would fit with kind of what Jake Paul does, give himself every single advantage. But the talent gap, I don't care what the weight would be, the talent gap is just way too big, and Jake Paul is never going to get a fight like that. So you can forget about that. And you know what? Let's forget about him, because people tuned into this thing to see Mike Tyson, and they got to see Mike Tyson. And I covered Mike's heyday, and I covered so many of his big fights. And I have to admit, I got goosebumps as I watched him make the walk to the ring at AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. You know, seeing him come out, you know, it kind of reminded me of, you know, those big events at the MGM Grand from, 30 years ago, when every major celebrity on the planet, it seemed, was packed inside the MGM Grand Garden and there to see what havoc Mike might create. So many great stories about covering Tyson fights. But if you read my pre-fight coverage, you knew it was pretty obvious if you follow boxing a long time. A 58-year-old guy is not going to be able to have the legs, have the quickness, have the reflexes to be able to compete with a 27-year-old guy. And the one thing we knew more than anything else going into the fight was that Jake would be in terrific condition and much better condition than Mike. I don't know what kind of condition Jake was in, if he was fighting Alexander Usyk or somebody like that, but he was in the condition that he needed to be in to get rid of Mike Tyson. You saw the crowd on the first left hook that Mike threw. You know, the crowd kind of got into it and they were excited. And everybody was just sort of hoping against hope that you would see Mike land something and that, Jake would kind of go wobbling back, but he never really was able to do it. And even though Mike said afterwards, he probably wants to do it again. He mentioned that he had a knee injury. He was wearing a knee brace. Um, I just think when he goes home and thinks about it, he's a proud guy. He's one of the greatest to ever do it. I don't think he wanted to say in the middle of the ring with Jake Paul standing 10 feet, yeah, this guy put me into retirement. But I don't think, anybody really wants to see Mike fight again. We want to remember Mike what he was in his prime, the terrorizing, powerful guy that he was, who just was unstoppable at one point in his career. And to see this shell of that fighter was sad. After the initial goosebumps and you saw the fight start, and you knew what was going to happen. I honestly was worried for Mike Tyson, and I saw a lot of people on social media, that I respect, saying the same thing. So it was tough. But let me talk about the big loser of the night, because Netflix absolutely, positively, completely sucked. Awful broadcast, and the stream couldn't even stay up. And I had written in one of my pre-fight previews, that, hey, if Mike doesn't get hurt, which he did not, and the fight goes off, even though we knew it wouldn't be an exciting fight, as long as the broadcasts were good, maybe it would help boxing. The broadcast was god awful. They had so many announcers, and Rosie Perez was at ringside doing color commentary. She had nothing to add. It was a waste of time to have her there. The whole setup was really, really bad. And then on top of that, Netflix is crashing like crazy. There were several hashtags out there ripping Netflix on social media because of how often the thing went down. And they knew for months this was originally scheduled to happen in July, and then it got postponed when Mike got ill to November. They've known for the better part of this calendar year that they were going to have people worldwide tuning into this, and they couldn't do a better job than they did with the stream. And I just thought that they brought a lot of old faces back to work on the broadcast. And they needed to present something new and fresh and good and exciting, and what they presented was old and tired and worn out and nothing new. And it was a horrible broadcast. The stream was bad. At one point during the Katie Taylor Amanda Serrano fight, they were just finishing up the fight on my stream. I'm watching it live. And I have a 2 gigabit stream, by the way, in my house, and my TVs are wired to the internet. Um, I'm watching the fight end, and it was like in the final 10 seconds. And I have a friend text me that says, "Oh my God, that was a terrible decision." Obviously, I had gotten way behind, so I had to fast forward to catch up. There's no excuse that Netflix did that. Absolutely no excuse. And there's no excuse that they put on such a piss poor broadcast. I mean, absolutely, terrible. And I know it's not easy, but you had, again, to prepare for this broadcast the better part of the year. And the broadcast was terrible. The the stream was terrible, and really the main event fight was terrible, right? I mean, the other two fights were good. I don't know how many of the people who watched really were watching that. They came to watch Mike Tyson. So, and but God bless Mike for doing what he did. He did one for us old guys. He went the full 8 rounds, and it was hard not to think, hey, had this even been 38-year-old Mike Tyson and not 58-year-old Mike Tyson, that Jake Paul would have been flat on his back getting peeled from the canvas. But Jake is a good matchmaker, and he knows who to pick on, and that's to pick on the guys that are over the hill, who aren't boxers, who aren't training, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I suspect we'll see him fight somebody similar next time out. If he fights a legit boxer, that'll surprise me. But this night was about Mike Tyson, and kudos to Mike for getting in the kind of shape that he did and doing the best that any 58-year-old man could really be reasonably expected to do. So I hope you enjoyed the fight. I'm sorry that it wasn't a better fight, but at least it was kind of cool to get to see Mike Tyson back in there. I will have full coverage on kevinioli.com, so please check there later for my column on the fight. And if you don't already subscribe to my YouTube channel, please like this video and subscribe. It would really help me out. I would greatly appreciate that. Talk to you Saturday night after UFC 309. Appreciate everybody. Enjoy the fight. See you soon.